This is an extract from the Leader Coronavirus Daily podcast by the Evening Standard and hosted by me, David Marsland. To hear the whole thing, search for it on your podcast provider.
It's been 100 days since the last Premier League clash, but tonight football returns with a crunch double-header between Manchester City and Arsenal. But there'll be no fans screaming from the stands. Instead, they'll be streamed into the stadium. And as the league grapples with a pandemic, the Black Lives Matter movement is also sparking calls for deeper change within the sport. The Evening Standard's Dan Kilpatrick joins me now. Dan, how will the teams be marking the Black Lives Matter movement from tonight?
The Black Lives Matter movement will be marked in the first round of games with all the player names on the back of the shirts being replaced by Black Lives Matter. And there'll also be a logo on shirts for the rest of the season. So the names will only be replaced for the first 12 fixtures, and then the logo will be on shirts. You could also see players taking a knee tonight. All clubs have said it's up to the players, and they're all very supportive. And the Premier League and FA have both said they won't sanction or punish players for political activism relating to the Black Lives Matter campaign.
And what discussions are happening at the moment to improve diversity within the Premier League?
Well, Richard Masters, the Premier League chief executive, was asked about this at length in a video conference yesterday. And he was reluctant to set targets on the hoof, as he put it. So he didn't want to be drawn on diversity quotas or targets, but he did say that discussions are ongoing with clubs and that the Premier League is committed to those discussions. It's difficult to say at the moment what will happen, obviously, but the calls for more diversity across sports, and particularly in football, are growing. So it's really quite a bleak picture in terms of BAME representation in management positions and in coaching positions as well. The Premier League have said that they are not in discussions to implement the Rooney Rule, which the EFL has. That would require clubs to interview at least one BAME candidate when they're selecting a new head coach. But obviously, this issue is growing in importance. Players are increasingly speaking out. Figures in the game are increasingly speaking out. So I think we are going to see some action on this soon. Not to mention that the government promised a sports governance review and could set diversity quotas or targets themselves and impose them on sports governing bodies like the Premier League and FA.
And things are looking pretty different to how we left them. What can the players and the fans expect from the game post-lockdown?
Each Premier League club will have a fan wall on their big screen. So I think it's 16 fans per team can apply to kind of be on the big screens via Zoom, and it will be them watching the game. So kind of like a goggle box of them reacting to the action. Fans can add fake crowd noise if they wish to, or they can just listen to the players and manager shouting, and that'll be quite novel for some supporters. So it'll be a very different Premier League.
Search for the Leader Coronavirus Daily on any podcast provider to hear more from the podcast.